Is there time today for a little bit of heavy breathing before midnight? Of course there is. This is Sandi Maki. I am here on the eve of another TedXDetroit event here in the Motor City. Boy, I could really make that sound like a radio announcer, couldn't I? Well, maybe not. Anyway, TED is a program that I reference quite a bit. There's TED Talks that are about 18 minutes long. There's some that are even shorter, that are incredibly profound and get you to think about new things in new ways, and old things in new ways, and old things in old ways, and all of the above. It is very worth checking it out if you have not already. Well, TEDx events happen around the country, and they are put on by local teams of people who would like to bring the spirit of a TED conference to the local level. Tomorrow is the third TEDx event that I will be attending. I have been, or will by the end of tomorrow, have been to every TEDxDetroit event that there has ever been. This will be number 3, so 3 for 3. Go figure. The very first year that the local community put the TEDx event on, it was in a smaller venue in an auditorium. The speakers and the ideas that were shared were absolutely fantastic, which of course brought me back for the second round. There was one particular talk at the second TEDx event that really resonated with me. When people are speaking or when there's a message to share, there's so many catchphrases or general consensus comments that are made, and one of them is that every speaker's voice resonates with somebody in the audience. So as a speaker, it's an interesting perspective to keep. If you're in a room of 500 people or 1,000 people and you're speaking, you can know that you're there because your voice will be heard by at least one person in the crowd. Sometimes, depending on what the topic is and depending on how the speaker connects with the audience, sometimes it flows almost effortlessly, and sometimes it can seem a little bit more of a struggle. As speakers, I don't think that we realize just enough how much we do change people's lives. When I was at the TEDx event last year, there was a speaker who gave a talk on myopia. That talk has really changed my life. And I was just sharing this story with a couple of people that I know here in the local networking scene. And I shared that this talk by Henry Balanon last year changed my life. And one of the guys looked at me and said, "Wow, how is that?" And I said, well, what it really did for me is it put a framework around something that I had been experiencing, but it really started to put into perspective some of these concepts and some of the reasons why it was so profound. And a lot of you will remember that I talk about myopia. And myopia is that point where you become almost tunnel visioned or single focused on one thing or one set of experiences, and everything else that's in your periphery just fades away. And Henry's talk was relating this to, I guess, late night at a bar when you maybe have had a couple of drinks, and that effect that starts to go on helps to create a myopic moment for you. Well, I have myopic moments in a lot of different ways, and by him putting into words this phenomenon, I have found the words to communicate this with so many people that I come in contact with. So it helped me to put a framework. So whether or not anyone else got anything out of his talk, and I'm sure plenty of people did, whether or not anyone did, his voice was there for me. The funny thing about this is that of all the TED Talks or TEDx Talks that are available on YouTube, that's the one that I've always looked for and I haven't been able to find. It's interesting because I would love to see it again, and at the same time, I'm almost glad that I may not see it again, because if I watch it again, I may find out that what he was talking about actually has nothing to do with the picture of it in my head, Or I may watch it and say, wow, that really was different than what I remember. And I don't know that I want to do that because the first time around, I had an experience with the speaker. It resonated with me. There was a topic that I was then able to take and implement into my life. And if I go back and I watch it again, then it will change that outcome to some extent because I'll have new information that I will need to add to that. So there's a word of caution. In this digital age, we are so able to capture things on video, on audio, with photographs, even writing. Sometimes, maybe it's best to experience something live in person and not go back for the instant replay later. Then again, I could also make an argument that when you're there in the moment in person, you're only seeing or experiencing what you're seeing or experiencing in that moment. And maybe if you went back and observed the moment again from another perspective, from another angle, from another direction, you may find something new. Is there a right or a wrong answer to this? Absolutely not. Or absolutely, depending on where you're looking at it. Anyway, on the eve of another TedXDetroit event, I am looking forward to profound speakers, big thinking, and a chance to put a few more of my thoughts into perspective. And to Henry, who probably didn't understand it when I reached out to him via Facebook to tell him that I appreciated his talk, you really did change my life. Thanks for that. Until next time.